An ordinary, run-down pawnshop. But once night falls, the line stretches out the door. Only, this pawnshop doesn't take gold or jewelry. Instead, we take the lifespans of our customers. Some pawn 5 years of their life for a chance to strike it rich overnight. Others sacrifice 30 years of their lifespan just to buy their daughter a lifetime of perfect luck. As long as it passes through the owner's hands, a simple trade is made. You can buy good fortune, promotions, and endless wealth. You can even rewrite your own destiny. That's exactly why this place never goes out of business, and why people flock here like pilgrims. And I am the owner of this shop. 20 years ago, desperate to save my son from a sudden, deadly illness, I made a deal with the previous owner. I signed a devil's contract and became the new manager. In return, I gained the power to harvest time, along with near immortality. The price? My son never truly healed. Instead, he vanished completely. Now, this golden oil lamp is the only thing connecting me to him. As long as its flame burns, my son is still alive, and the fuel that keeps this fire going is the time I take from others. Right now, I had just finished extracting 5 years from my last customer, but just as I was about to feed that energy to the lamp, the doorbell suddenly rang again. My hand trembled. I spun around, because right now, that specific chime only rings when a customer bringing great disaster walks in. The door was pushed open. Standing there was a woman. She was wearing a baggy, striped hospital gown, her face as pale as death. She wore a crooked wig, revealing patches of a completely bald scalp underneath. But what really chilled me were her eyes. There was no fear in them, no greed, and absolutely no hope. Just a dark, burning madness. She walked straight up to the counter, stared right through me, and said, "I heard you can trade lives here." I narrowed my eyes and slipped on my monocle. Through the lens, I could see a foul, black aura clinging to her, wrapped tightly around her lungs and bones. It was the mark of death. "You're in the wrong place. You need a morgue, or a church. I don't do business with dead people. I'm not dead yet. The doctor said I have 3 months left. 3 months of broken time isn't even enough to make my lamp flicker. Go home. Stop wasting your time here. Not those 3 months. I want to pawn the 30 years I was supposed to have." My gaze sharpened instantly. "The 30 years you were supposed to have? You have late stage, spreading lung cancer. You don't have 30 years. You don't even have 30 weeks. I tried to shake off her hand, but her fingers clamped around my wrist like a vice. "You can see it, can't you? Don't play dumb. I know you can see the threads." My heart skipped a beat. Ordinary people shouldn't know those threads existed. "I have no idea what you're talking about." While speaking, I let the scissors in my left sleeve slip into my palm, ready to strike if I had to. But the very next second, Lin Wan suddenly let go. Then, she forcefully tore open the collar of her hospital gown. Look here, just below her collarbone, right over her heart. There was a striking dark red mark, completely twisted in shape. It vaguely resembled an upside-down hourglass. My pupils suddenly shrank. Through my monocle, I saw something truly astonishing. Wrapped beneath that dark aura of death, there was actually a dazzling, diamond-like speck of light hidden away, and around that light, swirled a surge of golden energy. That was indeed time, and it was incredibly pure, high-quality life force time. This is a life fate lock. This is an extremely rare physical constitution. A person with this kind of fate was meant to live to be 100 years old. Rich and healthy, but her physical body had completely broken down from illness. It could no longer bear the heavy weight of her soul. "It looks like you can see it." Then, she pulled a photo out of her pocket. "This is Su, my daughter. She takes after me. Even her fate is exactly the same, terribly unlucky. She chokes even when drinking cold water, and gets hit by falling flower pots just walking down the street. This is her everyday life." Lin Wan raised her head, tears streaming down her face. "I don't care if I die, but I refuse to let my baby girl keep living in this kind of hell." "What exactly are you trying to do?" Lin Wan took a deep breath, her eyes turning fiercely resolute. "I want to pawn away my locked 30 years of lifespan. I will even give you all my blessings for the next life. I just want Su to be safe for her entire life. To be blessed with endless good luck forever." I put down my scissors, turned around, and walked behind the counter. Luck always requires a balance. For ultimate good luck, someone else has to bear the ultimate misfortune. If I strip away your life fate lock, you will die right here on the spot. I don't care. As long as it can change Su's fate, I am willing to die right now. Even if my soul shatters into pieces, I'm willing. Then, she suddenly fell to her knees, slamming her forehead heavily against the floor. I'm begging you, you're the only person who can help me. Please save my Su. If I could extract these 30 years of pure fate time, it would be enough to keep that lamp burning for an entire year. Then, maybe I could finally find some clues about little fish. This was a temptation I simply could not refuse. Get up, we have a deal. Next, I reached into the very bottom of my drawer and pulled out a black contract. The entire contract was pitch black, with its edges curled up as if they had been scorched by fire. This is a blood contract. The exact moment this transaction is complete, your life will come to an end. I know. Without a second of hesitation, Lin Wan bit into her finger and pressed her bloody thumb heavily onto the paper. The very next second, a brilliant red light erupted. The black contract instantly burst into flames, transforming into two red beams of light. One shot straight into the center of Lin Wan's forehead, and the other drilled right into the palm of my hand. After that, I led Lin Wan into the shop's inner chamber. In the center sat a freezing cold bronze bed, surrounded by countless clocks that were spinning like crazy. After instructing Lin Wan to lie down on the bed, I slipped on my specially made leather gloves. Gripping that silver pair of scissors, along with a long golden needle completely covered in carved runes. Su, mommy loves you so much. Before Lin Wan could even finish speaking, the long needle pierced right into her. Right into that dark red mark. A blood-curdling scream instantly echoed through the entire pawnshop, and in my line of sight, as the long needle pierced deeper. That mass of black energy on Lin Wan's chest was being forcefully torn apart. Blinding golden light gushed out. My hands moved frantically, searching for the core lifeline within the energy flow. I quickly grabbed the scissors and snipped that golden thread. At the exact same moment, Lin Wan's screams abruptly stopped, and the light in her eyes completely died out. But I had no time to dwell on it. Instead, looking at the glowing golden sphere in my hand, I felt a burning, agonizing pain in my palm. Such intense power. This energy is way too pure. Too overwhelming. I have to channel it out right now. Otherwise, it's going to blow this whole pawnshop to pieces. Then, I immediately grabbed a jade pendant I had prepared nearby, and forcefully pressed the light sphere into the jade, but right at the instant the light was about to fully merge with it, a sliver of red thread suddenly shot out, carrying this bizarre, bloody stench. It instantly darted towards some unknown direction in the void. What is this? I was instantly shocked. According to the rules of equivalent exchange, Lin Wan paid with her life, and Su gained the luck. This was supposed to be a closed loop, but this red thread that suddenly appeared means there has to be a third party to bear the side effects of the energy conservation. Meaning, all that bad luck Su managed to dodge must be transferred onto someone else. I instinctively reached out to grab that red thread, wanting to clearly see the endpoint it connected to. But the moment my fingers brushed against it, a blurry image flashed through my mind. It was a dim, damp basement. A frail back was curled up in the corner, trembling uncontrollably. My heart violently skipped a beat. That piece of clothing was the last birthday gift I bought for Xiao Yu. That was a style from 20 years ago. But just as I tried to see it more clearly, the image shattered in an instant. The red thread plunged into the void and vanished. With a sharp clink, the jade pendant dropped to the floor, radiating a soft, sacred glow. The deal was done, yet I stood frozen in place, cold sweat soaking my back. Could that poor soul bearing the price of the luck conservation be my son who went missing all those years ago? Does that mean, every single time Su gets lucky, it relies on draining Xiao Yu's life force to maintain it? No, that's impossible. Did I just personally sign a death warrant on my own son? I muttered to myself, my fingers trembling violently as I tried to touch that jade pendant. But the moment my fingertips were about to reach it, I yanked my hand back as if I had been electrocuted. As a veteran time catcher, I know the cruelty of the rules better than anyone. Once a deal is struck, the chain of karma closes. If the one bearing the price is really Xiao Yu, then right now, every single touch of this jade pendant could trigger a butterfly effect, bringing unknown disasters to my distant son. But at this moment, I must confirm it. Then, I took a deep breath, turned around, and walked toward the archive wall deep inside the shop. This wall was 5 meters high, densely packed with black leather files. Every single file represents a transaction, and represents the trajectory of someone's fate. Then, from the very top shelf, I took down a dust-covered brass compass. This isn't for reading feng shui, it's for tracking the flow of fate. Earthly branches be the guide, bloodline lead the way. I bit the tip of my tongue and spat a mouthful of vital blood right onto the compass. Instantly, the needle spun wildly, screeching with a sharp, grating sound. Then I tossed a lock of Lin Wan's hair into the groove at the center. As the compass vibrated, a ghostly screen of light unfolded right in midair. The screen showed Haicheng First People's Hospital, in the middle of a pouring rain. A little girl in an old pink dress was crouching under the eaves, shivering cold, waiting for her mom to come back with candy. That was Su Su. Suddenly, the scene on the screen shifted in a really eerie way. That old, rusty billboard at the hospital entrance, battered by the howling wind, let out a sickening groan of twisting metal. A few rusted screws finally gave way, snapping off with a loud ping, and the massive billboard, weighing tons, came crashing down. It was falling right on top of Su Su. Seeing this, I instinctively screamed. Even though I knew she couldn't hear me, in that life or death moment. Su Su seemed distracted by a stray cat passing by, and mindlessly took a tiny step forward. Boom, a deafening crash shook the ground. Dust flew everywhere. The exact spot where the billboard smashed was just 2 centimeters from Su Su's heels. Terrified by the blast, she fell flat on her bottom, staring blankly at the twisted metal. She had no idea she had just brushed right past death. This was absolute good luck, a literal distortion of probability. But the very next second, my worst fear came true. The exact moment Su Su dodged that billboard, over in the corner of the pawnshop, the life lamp keeping Tang Xiaoyu alive suddenly turned a sickly, ghastly green. The wick even popped with a fierce spark, and at that exact same time, the screen of light in front of me tore apart, just like a TV hit by severe static. Another image violently forced its way in. It was a completely different place, dim and damp, reeking of heavy machine oil and mold. It was an illegal sweatshop. Rows of rusty machines were roaring away. The camera finally focused on a dark corner, on a little boy, maybe 7 or 8 years old. He was struggling to carry a heavy box of parts. Dressed in filthy overalls, his little wrists were covered in bruises. Even though I couldn't see his face clearly, I instantly recognized that red mole on the back of his neck. Xiao Yu. It was my Xiao Yu, over on Su Su's end. The exact second that billboard crashed down, back in the sweatshop, something suddenly snapped, violently crushing down onto Xiao Yu's left leg. He blacked out instantly. Then, the vision abruptly cut off. The compass couldn't handle the fierce backlash of karma, and shattered into pieces with a loud bang. I just stood there, frozen in shock. My blood ran completely cold. This so-called conservation of luck, it wasn't just some simple transfer of energy. It was a precise, vicious mechanism of sacrifice. Lin Wan. You crazy woman, just to save your own daughter. You used my son as a scapegoat. If I destroy the contract token, this sick deal ends right now. But the second I raised the jade pendant, a piercing, agonizing pain tore straight through my heart. It was a warning from time itself. If it gets destroyed, Su Su will vanish, and Xiao Yu will suffer the karmic backlash. He'll be completely reduced to ashes. I can't break it. If I break it, my son will definitely die. But if I don't, his life will be worse than death. Collapsed into my chair, staring at his life force lantern that was still burning. The flame had grown so weak, leaving only a tiny sliver of green light. That was the sign of Xiao Yu struggling in agony. I knew I had to do something. Luck is always balanced. Since Su Su's good luck brings disaster to Xiao Yu, what if Su Su suffers bad luck instead? It was a dangerous idea, trying to cheat the rules of fate, but I had no other choice. I stood up and walked over to the pile of ticking clocks. I picked out a bizarrely shaped, pitch-black desk clock. This clock had no hands. Instead, a crying eye was painted on its face. It was the clock of misfortune. I wound the spring on the back, and at the same time, I took a rusty copper coin out of the drawer. This was a coin of bad luck. I quickly formed a hand seal, making the coin levitate right above the clock. A streak of gray mist pierced through the void, flying straight toward Su Su, who was sitting in a daze at the hospital entrance. He stared intensely at the lantern. If my theory was right, the exact moment Susu suffers misfortune, Xiao Yu's flame should flare back to life. This was a desperate gamble, using 2 children's lives as the betting chips. I was the dealer, and I had absolutely no cards left to play. Meanwhile, at the entrance of the First People's Hospital, Susu was still sitting on the ground. She was surrounded by a crowd of shaken onlookers and police. This kid is incredibly lucky. Yeah, just 1 centimeter off, and she would have been a goner. I heard her mom just passed away inside. Just then, a black Maybach pulled up slowly to the curb. The doors opened, and a wealthy, middle-aged couple stepped out. The man was Lin Guodong, the richest man in Haicheng. The woman was Chen Yun. Her eyes were red and swollen, and she was clutching a missing person flyer tightly in her hand. Their only daughter had gone missing 1 week ago. They hadn't heard a single thing since, until she saw Susu, and froze as if struck by lightning. Xiaoya? Chen Yun's voice trembled. She pushed through the crowd and rushed over. Xiaoya. Susu looked up. Her big, clear eyes, still stained with tears, looked exactly like Chen Yun's missing daughter. And what was even crazier, Susu also had a little tear mole right under her left eye. The exact same spot. Chen Yun completely broke down and pulled Susu into a tight hug. "Oh, my baby, I finally found you." "Auntie, I'm not." "Yes, you are. You are the child heaven has brought back to me." Chen Yun sobbed uncontrollably, and Lin Guodong's eyes grew red with tears as he watched. But just as this touching scene was unfolding, a streak of gray mist struck silently from the void. It was the misfortune I had cast. Its goal was simple. Just make Susu step on a sharp piece of metal when she stood up. A small flesh wound wouldn't kill her, but it would be enough to cause pain and draw blood. The gray mist coiled perfectly around Susu's ankle. At that very moment, Chen Yun was pulling Susu up to her feet, and her heel stepped right onto a jagged shard of glass. Back in the pawnshop, my heart leapt with joy. But, the very next second, Susu lifted her foot, and that glass shard didn't even scratch her skin. Instead, it dislodged something stuck in the sole of her shoe. It was a ring. This is my ring. The $5 million wedding ring that I had accidentally lost in the chaos. Oh my God. Are you an angel sent straight from heaven? Once we go home, Mommy will never let you suffer even a tiny bit again. Meanwhile, back in the pawnshop, I suddenly coughed up a huge mouthful of blood. This was the backlash of my failure. I stared blankly at the clock of doom. The misfortune had been transformed. The weeping eye on the clock face actually cracked open, oozing a thick, black liquid. Is this the true terror of the ultimate fortune? Any negative energy trying to attack her gets forcibly twisted by that overpowered destiny. Twisted into some kind of lucky coincidence. But, energy is always conserved. The wave of misfortune I just cast didn't just disappear. It just bounced off her. But where did it bounce to? In a split second, I whipped my head around in terror, staring at the soul lamp. Its incredibly weak, green flame was suddenly hit like a bucket of freezing water. With a sharp hiss, it nearly went out completely. The wick was trembling violently. In that instant, the glow turned as pitch black as ink. That was the color of death. No. I lunged forward like a madman, desperately shielding the lamp with both hands, pouring every ounce of my own life force into it just to keep it burning. Meanwhile, Xiao Yu, who had just passed out, was being dragged into a corner by the foreman. The foreman actually wanted to bandage him up. After all, he was still cheap labor. But the exact moment my misfortune bounced off Susu, the factory's old wiring suddenly short-circuited. A shower of sparks rained down, landing directly on a pile of flammable chemicals nearby. Boom, a massive wall of fire erupted into the sky. The blast was barely 2 feet away from Xiao Yu. In an instant, raging flames swallowed that entire corner. Even though Xiao Yu was unconscious, the agonizing pain of his skin being scorched was fed back to me, 100%, through our soul connection. Right on my arms, huge, horrific burn blisters appeared out of nowhere. The flesh turned scorched and black, giving off a sickening, burning smell. But I didn't feel the physical pain. I only felt absolute despair. I lost completely and utterly. The luckier Susu gets, the worse Xiao Yu suffers. And the more I try to interfere, the faster my boy dies. Ha ha ha, Ha 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 ha. Fine, since the rules of this world won't let me hurt her. Since fate is dead set on using my son as a stepping stone. I immediately marched behind the counter and opened a safe that had never been touched. There was no gold or treasure inside, only a gun. For centuries, this soul annihilator was used by the masters of the pawnshop to execute rule breakers. Next to it was a pocket watch, its hands ticking backwards. The reversal watch. This was the most forbidden artifact in the entire pawnshop. The price of using it is burning your very own soul. It can turn back time in a specific area, and even forcefully sever the threads of karma. But the consequence is, the user, I could be reduced to a mindless fool by the currents of time, or just vanish into history entirely. I didn't hesitate for a single second. I grabbed the pocket watch and hung it around my neck. Then I tucked the ice-cold soul eraser pistol into my waistband. Since remote interference won't work, since the rules are protecting that girl, I'll just have to go right up to her and use physical means to test exactly where the absolute limit of this ridiculous good luck lies. 2M Cloud Peak Villa District. I stood in front of the villa's main gate, glancing down at the reversal clock hanging on my chest. The hands on the dial were trembling wildly counterclockwise. This was time itself warning me. There's a high-energy anomaly ahead. I have 10 minutes, I muttered to myself. This is the absolute limit of my forced activation of the gray domain. Then, I pulled the soul eraser pistol from my waist. The gun was pitch black, pulsing with dark red patterns across its barrel. Whatever this hits, its timeline is instantly wiped clean. If physical damage just gets converted by her luck, what if I erase her time entirely? I refuse to believe Lin Wen's curse can block this too. Domain, expand. I stomped my foot, and a colorless ripple instantly burst outward. Wherever the ripple passed, time immediately froze dead. Like a ghost, I phased right through the frozen gate, walking straight up to that bulletproof glass door. Next, I reached out with my left hand and pressed it flat against the glass. Decay. A cloud of gray mist surged from my palm, and the bulletproof glass instantly turned cloudy. Before crumbling into a pile of dust on the floor, stepping into this crystal palace, the killing intent in my eyes burned even hotter. The sheer luxury here, compared to that dark corner of the sweatshop, formed a hellish contrast. Following the compass's guidance, I walked up to the second floor, step by step. The room at the very end of the hall had pink double doors. I pushed them open. The room was massive, decorated like an absolute fairy tale. Lace, plushies, and balloons were everywhere. Right in the middle of the room, on that giant, circular princess bed, Su was sleeping soundly, hugging a massive teddy bear in her arms. I walked up to the bed and slowly raised the soul eraser pistol. My finger curled around the trigger, my knuckles turning white from the grip. But just as I was about to pull the trigger, something went wrong. In this frozen time, Su, who should have been completely immobilized, suddenly rolled over. The teddy bear in her arms slipped down, covering her head perfectly. That's impossible. Inside the gray domain, aside from the caster, absolutely everything should be frozen stiff. A shock ran through my heart, but I didn't hesitate. The pistol's power is more than enough to pierce through a blanket and a damn teddy bear. Die. I squeezed the trigger, and a black beam of light shot out instantly. However, 0.01 seconds before the black light struck, the room's smart central air conditioning system suddenly malfunctioned, instantly blasting out at maximum fan speed. A powerful gust of freezing air blew directly at the head of the bed, and from a corner of the blanket. A single loose feather happened to be dislodged, caught in this fierce gust. That feather fluttered right in front of my muzzle, and the black beam struck it instead. According to the laws of physics, the beam should have pierced right through the feather and kept going. But there was something stuck on that feather. It was from when Su was eating cake before bed. She accidentally smeared a tiny bit of mirror glaze frosting on it, creating a perfect reflective surface. The soul-erasing beam underwent a reflection that completely defied logic. It hit a vanity mirror on the nightstand, and the mirror instantly shattered into pieces. But that refracted black beam didn't just disappear. It started ricocheting crazily all over the room. The black beam shot straight for my heart. Damn it, I reacted at lightning speed, throwing myself backward while activating time acceleration. I tried to dodge the fatal blow, but the black beam still grazed right past my left arm. To my absolute horror, the flesh on the outside of my left arm literally dissolved into nothingness. I let out a muffled groan and dropped to one knee. The exact moment I was hit, a piercing agony erupted deep within my soul. Because the soul-erasing gun is a causality weapon, its backlash was also on a causality level. Right after that, a terrifying image flashed through my mind. In that dark factory, the massive fire had already been put out. Little Fish was lying on the ground, severely burned and barely breathing. Suddenly, a rusted steel beam above him snapped without any warning. A piece of rebar plummeted straight down, completely impaling Little Fish through the left shoulder, in the exact same spot where I was just injured. Clutching my left arm, I curled up into a ball of sheer agony right in front of Susu's bed. I failed again, and just then, the time limit for the gray domain ran out. At the same time, the villa's security system finally kicked in. Beep beep beep, the ear-piercing alarms instantly echoed through the sky. Catch the intruder, there's movement on the second floor. I clutched my dissolving left arm and stumbled to my feet. If I don't leave now, I'm going to die right here. But just as I was about to jump out the window, my eyes were suddenly drawn to something in the corner. It was a gray, one-eyed stuffed rabbit. The eye was sewn on with a button. My pupils violently shrank. That rabbit, I sewed it with my own hands for Little Fish, just the day before he disappeared. Why the hell is it in Susu's room? Does Lin Wan know Little Fish? No, that's impossible. Or could it mean? I snapped my head back, staring at the family portrait on the nightstand. In the photo, Lin Guodong was lovingly holding Susu. A terrifying thought completely exploded in my mind. I snatched the one-eyed rabbit off the floor. On the back, there was a tiny line written in ballpoint pen. It was Little Fish's childish handwriting. To Daddy, wait for me to come home. After reading that, my mind instantly went completely blank. Could the richest man in Haicheng be directly involved with the people who kidnapped Little Fish? Little Fish might even be locked up somewhere right here in this very villa. Suddenly, the bedroom door was smashed open. Several heavily armed bodyguards stormed inside. Bang, bang, bang. Bullets whistled right at me, but I didn't even try to dodge. My eyes burned with a fire even more insane than before. I'm not killing Susu, because I've found a much more important target. I slammed my hand down on the pocket watch at my chest. Not to attack, but to run for my damn life. Time reversal. The very next second, a massive vortex appeared around my body. The bullets struck the vortex, froze completely in midair, and then reversed right back to where they came from. Under the horrified gazes of the bodyguards, my body twisted, stretched, and vanished. It finally turned into a streak of gray light, vanishing into the dead of night. I didn't run far. Instead, like a gecko, I clung to the villa's outer wall, and crept all the way up to the third floor. I slipped into a third-floor balcony. It was a perfect blind spot, and the post-rain shadows were heavy enough to hide me. I leaned against the freezing marble wall, trembling as I stroked the one-eyed stuffed bunny. It still had Xiao Yu's scent on it, a scent of motor oil, mixed with pure terror. I forced myself to calm down. Here's the situation now. Number 1. Susu has absolute luck. She can't be killed, and any damage she takes transfers straight to Xiao Yu. Number 2. Lin Guodong adopted Susu. And number 3. Xiao Yu's precious keepsake was found right here in the Lin family mansion. Connecting these 3 pieces, there's only one horrifying truth. I looked up, staring at the room connected to this balcony. It was a study. The curtains were drawn over the massive floor-to-ceiling windows, but they left a tiny gap, leaking a dim, yellowish light from inside. Someone was talking. I held my breath, and pressed my ear to the crack. The study was decorated like an emperor's royal chamber. Sitting behind a massive desk was a man. It was Lin Guodong himself. He was swirling a glass of red wine, speaking to someone on the phone. That little brat, Susu? She's sleeping like a log tonight. Not scared at all. That assassin? HMPH. Forget about him. No one can kill Susu. As long as that energy source keeps running. She is absolutely invincible. The energy source? How does Lin Guodong know about that? Does he know how this sick, twisted game works? Then, the person on the phone seemed to ask a question. Lin Guodong snapped impatiently. I don't give a damn if that little bastard is dead or alive. As long as he's breathing, keep him barely alive for me. This is a once-in-a-lifetime symbiote we're talking about. Back when that crazy bitch went to the pawnshop to make her little deal, I was monitoring the whole thing. I can't believe she actually pulled it off. Listen to me, old Chen. The better Susus luck gets, the more money I rake in. tonight was just the beginning. That assassin was definitely gunning for Su Su, but he failed. Which proves that the voodoo doll substitution effect is working perfectly. My fingernails dug deep into the stone wall. So that was it. This wasn't just some desperate mother's sacrifice. This was a cold, calculated conspiracy all along. Lin Guodong had his eyes on Lin Wan from the very start. Her special fate lock. He had been spying on the number 8 pawnshop the entire time. He didn't adopt Su Su out of the kindness of his heart. He was using her as a human cash cow. He didn't lock Xiao Yu up out of spite. He was using my poor boy as a literal dumping ground for his pain. Su Su stays in the spotlight, absorbing all the good luck, hoarding wealth and dodging disasters for Lin Guodong, making him rich and powerful, while Xiao Yu rots in the shadows, taking every ounce of the brutal backlash. Suffering, bleeding, and dying for Lin Guodong's sake. That monster is literally playing God with 2 kids' lives, just to fuel his own sick immortality. Lin Guodong snarled viciously into the phone. Keep a damn good eye on that little animal. Especially after that hit tonight. I'm guessing they're probably done for over there. Give him the best antibiotics. Don't let him die too quickly. If he dies, I'll have to find a new vessel, and that would be a huge pain. By the way, that place is safe, right? That abandoned steel mill. I'm the only one who knows about it. Steel mill. I memorized the word, then slowly pulled back my gaze. I didn't just rush in to kill Lin Guodong. That so-called steel mill was definitely heavily guarded. If Lin Guodong dies, his guys over there might kill the hostage or move him. Xiao Yu, hang in there. Before leaving, I bit down on my tongue and spat a mouthful of blood onto the windowsill. I drew an invisible death curse. Lin Guodong, your days are officially numbered. With that, I leapt up, and vanished into the night. Half an hour later, in the western suburbs of Haicheng. At the long-abandoned Hongguang steel mill, the 3rd underground floor was blazing with lights. Inside a massive iron cage, a tiny figure lay curled up on a pile of straw. It was Tang Xiao Yu. He looked absolutely horrific. His left leg was twisted at an unnatural angle, and his left shoulder had a gaping, bleeding hole right through it. He was tightly clutching half a moldy bun in his hand, but couldn't bear to eat it. Because right next to him, an even smaller child was locked in a cage. He was burning up with a high fever. Xiao Cheng, don't go to sleep. Tang Xiao Yu struggled to drag his body over, and handed him the half bun. Eat this, you won't feel so cold. Big brother, it hurts. It's okay, it doesn't hurt. Big brother will tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a pawnshop owner. He wore a really cool pair of glasses. Is that owner your daddy? Yeah, my daddy is a superhero. He's definitely gonna come save us. Right at that moment, a wisp of gray dust suddenly drifted down from the vent above the cage. As the dust landed on Xiao Yu's wounds, it surprisingly brought a soothing, cooling sensation. Xiao Yu froze for a second. He looked up, as if sensing something. In that split second, from those eyes that had long run dry, tears suddenly began to pour out. Daddy, he smelled it. It was the scent of the old clock oil from the pawnshop, and the smell of the one-eyed rabbit. Meanwhile, the pawnshop door burst open, and I stumbled inside, crashing behind the counter. My left arm had already turned a translucent gray. The void curse was spreading. If 10 more minutes passed, this fading would spread all the way to my heart. By then, I'd be completely reduced to a speck of dust. Lantern, I let out a low growl. Over in the corner, one-eyed wooden puppet that had been playing dead suddenly twitched. It went click-clack, hopping down from the shelf. It pulled a small bottle covered in green patina from its belly. Inside was the water of stagnation. It was a time-stopping serum, extracted from beneath ancient glaciers. Even though it was highly toxic, it could be used to freeze a wound's condition. I bit the cork off, without a second of hesitation. I poured the liquid straight onto my left arm, and a cloud of white smoke hissed into the air. It felt like plunging my hand straight into liquid nitrogen. The agony made my entire body convulse. After that soul-tearing agony, the disintegration of my left arm finally stopped. A layer of blue ice crystals sealed the wound. Time had completely stopped flowing through this patch of flesh. It kept me alive for now. I was gasping for air, chest heaving. Sweat soaked completely through my collar. Then, I looked up at the soul lamp. The flame had dwindled down to the size of a pea, flickering with an eerie, dark purple hue. It was the ultimate death knell. My little Xiao Yu couldn't hold on much longer. Time to get to work, old friends. I pulled myself up straight. In that instant, the look in my eyes shifted from a wounded father to the tyrant who rules over time itself. I walked over to the forbidden display cabinet, buried deep inside the pawnshop. I pulled down a long, black trench coat. Woven into the lining of this coat were hundreds of tiny pocket watch dials, densely stitched together. This was the Nightfall coat. Wearing it bends the very flow of time around you. It doesn't just stop bullets, it makes you completely invisible. Next, I slipped on a pair of custom gloves, embedded with 2 dull rubies. Those were the stones of decay. Anything they touch instantly ages 10,000 years. Finally, from a box at the very bottom, I pulled out a massive, wicked-looking revolver. The barrel was absurdly long, and wrapped in heavy chains. The Undertaker. This gun doesn't take normal bullets. It feeds on my very own lifespan. Every single time I pull the trigger, it drains exactly 1 year of my life, in exchange for an absolutely guaranteed, karmic erasure of my target. Since you bastards love playing with lives so much, I'll play your little game to the bitter end.